Hello again, thanks for dropping in. I wanted to talk about a couple of things actually. I'm going to talk about another recording session. We've talked about Spain, and I've talked about Spain and America and Germany, I think in that actual order, 1, 2 and 3. So this is number 4, and we're going to move continents now. We're going to move to Asia. So although this was recorded kind of in England, the actual artist was a Japanese guy. And before I actually go into this, I just want to quickly mention that I'm totally disgusted with the audio quality that we've had on some of these things. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. It's a combination of the fact that my laptop is gas powered, and this crappy little microphone I've got, and also the prior videos I've done when I've done them online with the YouTube application. Obviously, something to do with the interconnectivity there. The upload connection, whatever, has been pants, and it just goes crap. So I've decided that no more is going to be like that. This possibly be the last one I do in this same fashion. So I'm hoping that this audio might be okay. I'm recording this slightly differently. I'm pointing the mic nowhere near me. I'm pointing it over at the window, so it's coming across me. I'm hoping that'll pick up without crackling and distorting. Then I can just raise the this kind of program I've got to run it through before I run it onto YouTube. I'll just see how that works. But I'm going to actually get my lovely £900 AKG 44 microphone. I should be using that really, shouldn't I? The only reason I haven't is because it needs phantom power. It doesn't work just by plugging it in like dynamic microphones do. You have to give it some power, which going off of a laptops don't do that. I just can't, there's no way to plug it into the laptop. But I found out, and I was looking through this yesterday, I read a couple of reviews about this from people that do sort of quite serious versions of this, and there's this little adapter, which is USB thing. Let's plug it into my USB port, and it's got this kind of adapter thing. I know it's about 4 wide by, that's all width. There you go. And, plugged my microphone with them into this little interface, I suppose it is, and that's supposed to phantom power it and give it like a microphone preamp. So, but it's 150 quid. So I did it on my credit card. I don't have £150 in cash on me, but I wanted to get it, and so I was up there last night, listening back to one of the things that come out, and which came out really well. I was really happy with how it went, apart from when it got the old. I can't believe that. And thank you so much for sitting through that, and I really apologise. It's like it must be like having your teeth pulled listening to that. It must drive, but thank you for putting up with that. Anyway, so I'm going to go on now and talk about a Japanese session with a gentleman who I will tell you his name is Toshihiko Takamizawa. Okay, and basically this is another job from Mike Vernon. I did a lot of stuff from him, as I've mentioned before. This guy had a recording contract with Virgin Records in Japan. He was a singer in one of the top Japanese rock bands. And they used to sell zillions of records, tens and tens of millions. But he wanted to make a solo album. So this was kind of his job, to make a solo album. So no expense spared. Sorry, I've done both kinds of gigs. There's two kinds of sessions really. There's a no expense spared session, where you just pay for whatever you want. Who do you want? Yeah, we want him, we want that, we want that, we want that. Yeah, okay, you can have all that. And there's a no expense spent version, which I've done an awful lot of those, where there's no budget at all. And it's like you have to beg, borrow and steal. But I have to say, in some ways, those kind of sessions always have got a certain charm about them, because they're much more personal, and lots of people are putting in their input for not very much money, but for the love of what they're doing, because they like it or whatever, or they like the artist for whatever reason. Anyway, but this particular job was a no expense spared version. Okay, so he's got a record deal with Virgin in Japan. He's in a successful rock band, and he wants to make a solo album. Well, this particular album that we ended up making, I can't remember what the name of it was now, but we only did one song on there, because he basically went to it ended up selling 1.85 million, I think, in its first year. So it was immensely successful. But there was one song, I guess there are 11 songs on the album, one of which Mike Vernon again got the gig to do, because he wanted the record company suggested, well, let's get loads of different English producers on there. So Mike got this job to do this. It's a hideous song as well. It's called Fire. Fire as in you get shot at dawn. Aim, fire. But and this guy's singing. I didn't really have much contact with him, to be honest, because he was always surrounded by this entourage of 12, 13 people, and they were like translators and people booking that hotel, and you know, it was just like almost like throwing petals on the floor for him to walk around, you know. And but there was a couple of the most of them were male, but they weren't all. So there's probably about 10 blokes in the entourage and a couple of women. God, you're nice, one of them, you know. Blimey. Anyway, so that was that really. The other nice thing about this session, as it turns out, because we went through and did all the or I did all the usual thing, I suppose. You know, get the track together, sequence it up to make it hopefully sound like or whatever it's supposed to sound like. And Mike phoned Mike up. Mike got the track ready. Do you want to come check it out? So he got in a car, came down from London, just outside London, Surrey, where he lived. Very nice house Mike lived, of course, because he's a very successful guy, and quite right too. And so he comes down to the studio, playing the track. He says, "Oh, I love it, Bob, love it." And this was quite nice in a way, because there was nothing about it which he normally would say, "Well, I'm not sure about that sound there, Bob, or that sound there." But he said, "No, it sounds great." In fact, if anything, he was saying, "Maybe you should put some more in." I said, "Well, I would do, but I just did like a minimalist approach first and see if I was on the right lines. And if you want some more stuff, you know, no problem, I'll stick some more in for you." So we ended up putting in some like orchestral stabby type things, because that was all the rage at the time. I said, "Well, there's all these orchestral stab things going off, Mike." I said, "But I need to try and find some that no one else has used first. That's not going to be easy for me. So give me a week or so, and I'll put some of that kind of thing in as well." You know, that was it. But of these like 11-song album, all the other 10 songs, I didn't really get to hear any of them. But I think he did three songs with one producer, 4 with another producer, and 2 with one, and 2 with another, and 1 with Mike. That kind of deal, you know. But I did actually get to hear like 2 or 3 of the other songs. I didn't really like how they'd done them, to be honest. I thought they were not very. I'm not going to comment about that. It's not really fair to do that. But in terms of the songs, they were a whole lot better than the one we had to deal with. It was horrible. What are you going to do with this? When I first heard it, it's like, what am I going to do with this? Because it was called Fire, I suppose. Although, he was singing in Japanese apart from the chorus. Fire, fire. So what? It was hideous, it was. But the nice thing about that also is that the guitar on that particular song, Gary Shaw, my friend Gary, who I've mentioned in other things, he got to play the guitar on it. He ripped it up as well. Ooh, it's fucking marvellous, you know. Anyway, so that was that. The thing about all the producer thing with the Japanese is they don't pay royalties in Japan. That's why if you get a job and it's a Japanese job, it's a good little job, forget the royalties, you ain't going to get them. I guess the producer might, but anyone else won't get them. It's all fees. So they'll say to you, "Look, we'll pay this fee," which is usually quite generous, but don't come to us for royalties kind of thing, you know. So there you go. So get good fees, but no royalties. But the reason I wanted to sort of run this one past you, for various reasons, was that we ended up obviously doing the initial stuff in my little studio, as we normally would do, and then to actually lay everything down and fly this guy over from Japan, including his entourage of 10 guys and two girlies. We went to a studio in London called Easy Studios. Okay, and two things actually were quite. Well, the first thing was I sort of walked into the place, and bearing in mind that there's two recording studios in this one building. So there's one building, 2 great big f-off mixing desks. They had an SSL in one, which is 350 grand's worth, and in the other studio they had a Neve console, which is even more. It's like £500,000 worth, you know. But I walked into this control room. We were in the SSL room, and I walked in. It was filthy. I couldn't believe it. I walked into there and I just thought, what a dump. And like, there must have been best part, I don't know, with all the ancillary stuff that was in there, probably 750 grand, 800 grand's worth of equipment. You could like lick your finger and rub it on top of the mixing desk and come up with like an inch of dirt on your hands, on your finger. It was horrible. So that was the first thing I noticed about it. And then the day that we started, so I think we turned up the night before. Mike said, "Should we have a quick look at the studio?" Well, yeah, right then, if we have to. So it's a recording studio, isn't it? I mean, it's got 4 walls and a mixing desk in it and some other bits, you know. Anyway, so but we did have a look at it, and I don't know. We started the next morning, so we turned up. I got there slightly early, I think. Got there about 9:45. So usual sort of thing. I'm setting all my computer up. It took me 15 minutes. Set all my computer up and the keyboards all set up and stuff, and connected everything up. And had basically a cable which I used to give to the engineer. Here's my sound. Don't fuck with it. Excuse me. Don't mess with it. Just stick in the mixing desk. Flat EQ. Don't mess with it. I've done all that here. So just plug that in, set the level, and we're off. Which is more or less what we did. But before we actually got to that, it was very strange because the engineer sort of came in. He didn't quite seem very confident, to be honest, and it was just a bit weird because he said, "Oh, well, we can't start yet." I said, well, "What do you mean? I'm ready to go. All I've got to do is press. I mean, I've done it all. It's already done. I've done all this down in my studio. All I've got to do is hit the space bar kind of thing, and boof, it'll all come out. Lay it all off on the different channels. Job done. 2 hours at least. Well, not even that. Play, I don't know, whatever many different elements I had in the track, run through the same track 5 minutes, run it through 15 times, and you've got pretty much all the stuff that I'm going to be doing on it. It's done. What's that? 75 minutes, hour and a half, done in the tin. But we couldn't start, and the reason we couldn't start on the session was they were having a séance. Well, at least that's what it looked like to me. He said, "Oh, we're just doing something in the live room because you've got like basically you've got two big rooms, one where all the equipment is, and one where the performers play, the drummers, the singers and percussion players, whatever, where they go and do their stuff, which is called the live room." So in the live room, I sort of looked, because you can see, usually there's a big window between the two, so you can see through. But the live room, the lights were right down, and I just said to this guy, "Can you turn the live room lights up, please? It's a bit dank and dark in here," because it was filthy as well. It's almost like you didn't want to touch anything, It's almost greasy. And he said, "Oh, well, there's something going on in there at the moment." I said, "Well, please just turn it up just a little bit." Anyway, he did, because there's like a dimmer switch normally, and he just turned the dimmer switch, and up came the lights a little bit. There were about 8 people all around in the circle in the live room, and they were all doing this, they had their hands together, and it was very strange. And it turned out what they're doing like a spiritual cleaning of the studio, because the last band that were in the day before or whatever, or finished the day before. Normally people book those kind of studios for like weeks sometimes, and they complained about the vibe in there. It was a bit dark and whatever. So the studio owners had booked and I guess paid for this kind of spiritual. Well, it just didn't make any sense to me at all. I just thought, right then, I don't like this place. I said to Mike, "I don't like it here, Mike. Can't we go somewhere else?" Which we ended up finishing at somewhere else, because I just basically said, "It's crap here, Mike. It's filthy." He wasn't too impressed either. But anyway, so we did all that. But there was a slight problem in that. How do I explain this? So I've talked about. So we're starting off, and the first job is to lay all the music, which is like the drums and the bass and the percussion, the samples, the keyboards, and any other things I've got coming out the computer, which is already done, but it's in the computer. So it's just a case of hooking it up. And basically what happens is, it's not actually press the space bar, because I hook it up. So it's hooked up to the tape, the big recording tape machine in the studio. So the guy basically, all he's got to do is press play on the tape machine, and it starts my computer and plays everything perfectly synchronised to it. Well, he did that, and we laid off the drums, which we did in pretty much. I think we took 2 passes for that, because there's quite a lot of things happening. So we routed out. I don't know. I think I had eight outputs on some of my devices. A total of about 8 outputs. That was maximum. And I needed 16 or 14, whatever it was. So we did it in two runs, if you like, to make that up, which we did. Then we ran off the bass with some keyboards as well. Then we got to lay something else down a bit later, which I can't remember what it was. And I was just listening back I said, "Excuse me," to the engineer, "Where's the bass?" He said, "What?" I said, "Well, the bass. Where's the bass? The bass guitar, which I've done on the keyboard. Where is it? I can't hear it. What's happened to it?" He'd erased it. He'd recorded something else over the top of the bass, which we'd done like an hour ago, or half an hour before. The bass wasn't there anymore, but he hadn't even noticed. I was like, "What?" Well, that was a bit suspect in itself. Yeah, so we went back and redid the bass guitar. Then I think that afternoon, or it may have been the next morning, we had a percussion player coming in to play live percussion on it, to make it sound more of a feely thing, even though you could kind of get a bit of a feel with the computer thing, because you could, I won't go into that, but I could still make it feel reasonably human, even though it was all computerised. But it's always better to have like real percussion, and the percussion player had a guy called Luis Jardim, who's just staggering. He's one of the top session players in the world. He does 2 recording sessions a day. He has one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and he's got like 3 roadies that basically turn up at this first session with all this equipment, a van full. I mean, I'm talking like a massive Mercedes van full, a big sort of white van, but a long wheelbase jobby with loads of kit in it. And that turns up at the studio first. The two roadies, or whatever they call them, get all the gear into the studio. Luis turns up and says, "Right, what do you want?" So he was just staggering. But what I liked about him because we wanted some live shaker on the track, And Mike said, "Oh, I want some shaker." So, okay. So Luis sort of said, "Well, play the track." So once he'd heard the track and he knew roughly what was going on, he said, "Right, you can have two versions. You can have or and said, "Which one do you want?" I said, "Number 2, please." Great. So Luis walks round to the other side of the studio and says, record, buff, no rehearsals, who needs to rehearse? And so you're in a recording studio. If you want to rehearse things, go to a rehearsal studio. If you want to record things, do it in a recording studio. Oh, I've never done rehearsals in my recording studio. Why would you rehearse something? Anyway, so Luis has gone in, first time, plays this shaker pattern, all the way through the song perfectly. It just sounded, I thought, this is sounding good already. Next thing, what else? And then Luis came out and said, "I think congas would probably sound good on this. I'll play some congas for you, tell me what you think." So he sets up these congas, which are already in the studio, like I say, from the roadies have set it up. So the engineer, who's struggling to keep up a little bit, to be honest. No, I wasn't too. I was thinking, this guy's not really all about. Anyway, so Luis plays down this conga pattern, right, on the track. Again, first time. So I think we had only congas like a stereo thing, so 2 microphones. That's it. 2 channels of the whatever it was, 48 channels I think we were doing at the time. We had 2 24 tape machines linked together, which then fed my computer system, so it was all linked up together. Excuse me. So we recorded the congas, got to the end, but I think we did some triangle and we did something else, and then we decided to do some more congas. We just a bit. I think it's Mike's idea. He said, "Why don't we try double tracking the congas or doing another conga pattern with the conga pattern we've already got," kind of thing, which is very unusual, but Mike wanted to try it. So anyway, well, it's a bit hard to explain this, but I'll try to do this. Those of you who've been in a recording studio will know when you've got a mixing desk that's like half a mile long and you can't see the end of it. When you look, where's the end of that mixing desk? It's massive, loads and loads of channels. Well, the reason you've got all those channels is in channel 1 you can plug the bass drum, and channel 2 and so on. You can use a different channel for each of the different sounds. So these congas that we'd already done one version of, I don't know, whatever channel we would have plugged them in, channel say 13 and 14. Well, what he'd done is when we went to record the triangle, he plugged the triangle through the channel of number 13 and changed all the settings on channel 13 to suit the triangle. Okay, so when we came to do the congas, the second lot of congas, he had to go and restart the whole thing again. And I remember saying to him, "Excuse you, what are you doing? Just what's happening?" He said, "I've got us." I said, "We've already done this, haven't we? Can't you just use the same 2 channels that you used last time? Just plug the congas in those channels and all the setup would be the same." "Oh no, I've used them for something else." Oh God, Mike Vernon wasn't too happy boy either. The next morning, because we had about 4 days I think in the studio, the next morning there's a different engineer turns up. Surprise, surprise. And it was actually one of the guys in the entourage, the management, basically just took this guy out because they realised what's going on here. This is not too good. But I felt really sorry for this guy because he was actually a really nice bloke as well, but just couldn't cut it in the studio because it's a lot of pressure there, and especially when there's a lot of money involved, But so anyway, we got this conga things done. Then I guess Luis probably went on after finishing that to do his session for the afternoon. So basically he finished what he was doing, probably went and had a cup of tea or something in the cafe. The 2 roadies came up and got all his kit, loaded it into this white van or whatever it was, this big Mercedes thing, and drove off to his afternoon session, so to speak, which he went off to. He wasn't cheap either. I think Luis was about £500 a day, but worth every penny. The other interesting thing about this is one of the reasons I wanted to go into this is, so we're in one of these 2 studios in this big studio. In the other studio, which was the one with the Rupert Neve desk, was Captain Sensible recording stuff. And downstairs in this complex, if you like, downstairs there was like a what do you call it, a coffee room, tea room, and that kind of thing. And at one point I never used to be in the studio. If I could help it, I'd just get my stuff ready and just bugger off, I'll be downstairs if you want me, Mike. Is that alright? He had my mobile number, so sometimes I'd get a call, "Bob, can you come in a sec?" And I would go and do that. Anyway, so I'm downstairs, having a cup of coffee, a sandwich or whatever, just doing anything other than being in that filthy studio upstairs. And this guy's chatting downstairs, and it turns out this guy I was chatting to was the engineer on Captain Sensible's session. I had a quick chat, I said, oh, tell me all you can tell me about that, and please be as indiscreet as you can. Tell me give me the lowdown, you know. He said, oh, you won't believe it. He said, well, we're doing, he was working on an album. They've been in there 6 weeks, I think, and they've nearly finished their album. One of the things that was happening was that every time that somebody had to belch, or wanted to belch, or fart, or anything, whatever, they'd set a microphone up in the studio, which was connected to like this high quality digital tape machine to record stuff into, other than what they were doing for the album. And every time somebody wanted to fart, they went and grabbed the mic, stuck it up their backsides, and did the fart and record, switched record on the tape machine and did the. He said they had like an hour and a half of just farts and belts and whistles. It just driving him nuts, But anyway, so I guess that's a different kind of perception of. That's what happens when you get Japanese people in, I suppose. You know, but I have to say, I guess the thing I do remember is amongst the entourage was the fact that two things really. One was that they're very quick to hook this guy out, the engineer that couldn't cut the mustard. He was gone. They don't stand off. Gone. Next morning there was someone else there, and even though we ended up going to another studio, I can't remember which one actually. I think it might be Metropolis or Britannia Row again, one of the two. We ended up finishing it off there, but. And the two girlies in the entourage, the Japanese girlies in the entourage. And I have kind of come across a similar thing because a girl singer that I work with locally from Portsmouth, we do like a duo thing. Or we did. I don't do it anymore. But at the time we were doing it, we did some quite nice gigs, you know. And we did a gig for King of Thailand, and it was at the Ritz Hotel in London. We did 2 nights there. And so anyway, we're doing this. We're in there doing this. And it was really strange because I've been up there playing or whatever, and it's not very big down there. It's just downstairs in the Ritz, where you go in the Ritz and you immediately turn right in the club, and then down the stairs where they've got the casino bit and the gaming centre. Plus they've got like the restauranty bit and private function room bit, which is where they've got gold leaf hanging off the walls, you know. But anyway, so we're down there, and it's nothing to do with the Japanese thing other than this, which was that it was almost like this. It was strange. How do I explain this? I don't even know how to explain to you. It was like there was a person over there, and all of a sudden there wasn't. But what it turned out to be was this King of Thailand. He had his personal bodyguards were female ninjas, and because I remember I did actually see one of them once. All I really saw was this gorgeous-looking creature with this fabulous backside. You know, you're nice. And then she was gone. I asked her, "What's going on here?" And this woman, who was part of the entourage, I suppose, of the King of Thailand, she told me, she said, oh, that's the personal bodyguard. There's 5 of them apparently. I only saw one, and I only really got a glimpse of her, but I remember thinking, cool, what a nice bum you got there. And that was quite very similar. The reason I mentioned that was because it was quite similar to the girlie in the entourage for Toshihiko Takamizawa, who was, I don't know, he sells lorry loads of records in Japan. Fair play to him. Well done, mate. That's all I can say. But anyway, I hope that's given you a bit of a thing. So if you go into a studio and it's like a ½ inch of dirt on there, go somewhere else. And if you're going to use a percussion player, think about getting Louis Jardim. It costs you some money, but it's worth it because he doesn't take. You plays it first go. You don't need to play. Can I do that again? No, I don't need to. Just play it through. It's done. Finished. Move on to something else. Done. Finished. Right. Bye, Louis. He's gone. £500 richer. Played. However many songs on an album, and he's done. He's on his way. And this engineer getting sacked and fired, and Captain Sensible doing the old farting thing. I thought that was quite interesting as well. But anyway, that's enough from me again, and I'm hoping that I'm not pointing the mic at me this time, I'm putting it up somewhere else. So, but like I say, this will be the last one I think before I set up when I get this adapter or interface, this preamp stroke phantom power for my AKG 414, providing that the actual recording is stable from the computer's point of view. My gas-powered laptop can actually get to the end of it without crackling, whatever, jumping and farting. The sound quality should be a whole lot better, so I'm hoping for that. But like I say, thank you so much to everyone who's put up and listened to the horrible sounds that we've had. All the cracklings anyway. But thankfully, it's not been that drastic. But I would rather we didn't have it. But again, thank you ever so much. And so we've done Japan. So what have we done now? We've done Spain, Germany, America, Japan. What else can we do? I think there are some more, so I'll come back with something else at a later date. And thank you again for listening. Look after those children. They're our future, and as I've said before, everything that human species do should be with our children as our primary focus. Then how can things go wrong if we're doing that? Thank you very much for listening. Please be happy, and whatever you're going to do in life, do it as best as you can. Thanks very much for listening. Bye bye.